Coming up on Arirang News, Team Korea has secured at least a bronze in women's boxing as Lee reached the semifinals in the women's 54-kilogram event. This marks the first medal in boxing in 12 years. And soon, Kim-won-ho and Jung Na-eun will vie for the top spot in the mixed doubles badminton final. South Korea's inflation inched up to 2.6% in July. Though consumer prices seem to be stabilizing, staying below the 3% range for 4 consecutive months, there are still concerns over high oil and fruit prices. As investors became concerned over a possible slump in the U.S. economy, the benchmark Kospi plummeted more than 3.5% on Friday, closing below the 2,700 mark. The tech-heavy Kosdaq fell by more than 4% as well. Welcome to Arirang News. I'm Kim Bo-kyung. We start with Team Korea making more history at the Paris Summer Olympics, especially in women's boxing and badminton, where athletes have secured at least a bronze medal and a silver medal, respectively. Our sports reporter Choi Soo-young tells us more.
Boxer Lee will bring home South Korea's very first Olympic medal in women's boxing. On Thursday evening local time, she beat Colombia's Yanni Arias by 3-2 in the quarterfinals. Im has secured at least a bronze in the women's 54 kilograms category. The 25-year-old will also win Team Korea its first boxing medal in 12 years since Han Sun-cho won silver in the men's 60 kilograms in London 2012. Im will face Hatse Akbas of Turkey in the semifinals on Sunday. Team Korea's Kim-won-ho and Jung Na-eun defeated compatriots Seo Seung-jae and Chae Yu-jung 2-1 in the mixed doubles semifinals on Thursday. Kim and Jung are now set to face the world's #1 pair Zheng Siwei and Hwang Ye-chung of China in the gold medal match on Friday night, Korean time. Seo and Chae will compete for the bronze medal against Yuta Watanabe and Arisa Higashino of Japan. If Kim and Jung win, they will have secured the first gold in this event since Lee Yong-dae and Lee Hyo-jung at the 2008 Beijing Olympics. Team Korea's Shin Yu-bin lost to China's Chen Meng in the women's singles semifinal. The match, which started at 5 p.m. Korea time on Friday, ended with Chen Meng winning 4-0. In the quarterfinals the day before, Shin Yu-bin defeated Japan's Miyu Hirano 4-3 to become the first South Korean to reach a women's singles table tennis semifinal in 20 years. If Shin wins the bronze medal match on Saturday, it will be the first singles medal in the sport for Korea since Yoo Seung-min's men's gold and Kim Kyung-a's women's bronze in Athens. Team Korea's judoka Kim Min-jong has reached the semifinal in the men's over 100 kilograms category. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News.
Shifting gears to the economy, findings for the month of July show Korea's inflation holding steady within the 2% range, but concerns remain over high prices of oil and fruit. Moon Hae-ryun reports.
Consumer prices in South Korea are beginning to stabilize, with inflation hovering in the 2% range for 4 months straight. Data from Statistics Korea on Friday showed that the country's consumer price index, a key gauge of inflation, rose 2.6% in July compared to the same month the year before. Core inflation, excluding volatile food and energy prices, came to 2.2%, while the index measuring 144 daily necessities rose 3%. Compared to the month before, the consumer price index was higher last month than in June, but core inflation remained the same as prices of petroleum jumped. In July, oil prices rose by 8.4% year-on-year, which is the biggest hike seen in nearly 2 years. A spokesperson from the agency attributed this to several factors.
Oil prices increased as a result of the fuel tax cuts being scaled back and global crude oil prices rising. The base effect of low oil prices last year could also have had an effect.
Prices of fresh produce continue to climb, particularly for fruit and vegetables, as a result of poor weather conditions such as the heavy rain affecting yields. The price of pears saw the biggest growth ever recorded as it surged by more than 150% year-on-year. Vegetables such as lettuce, spinach and cabbage saw sharp gains on month, prompting the Agricultural Ministry to respond with urgent measures. Speaking at a meeting to discuss these latest figures, the Vice Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs pledged to monitor the situation closely and strengthen on-site communication. The government has been supplying the market with up to 200 tons of cabbage per day since July 3rd and plans to increase this to 250 tons by mid to late August to stabilize supply and demand. The senior presidential secretary for economic affairs also gave a briefing on Friday afternoon, stating that the government will do its utmost to stabilize prices and that it expects inflation to plateau in the low to mid 2% range from this month. 문혜련, Arirang News.
South Korea's stock markets were sharply down on Friday, with benchmark Kospi ending below the 2,700 level on fears of a U.S. economic slowdown. Lee Soo-jin explains.
The South Korean stock market tumbled on Friday as U.S. stocks fell on growing concerns of an economic slump. The country's benchmark Kospi closed at 2,676, down 3.65% from the previous day. This drop, mostly driven by massive sell-offs by foreign investors and institutions, marks the first time since early June that the Kospi ended below the 2,700 level. The tech-heavy Kosdaq also fell by 4.2% to end at 779. The fall comes as weak U.S. economic data and the Federal Reserve's restrictive monetary policy put all three major U.S. indexes under heavy selling pressure on Thursday local time. The latest data released by the U.S. Institute for Supply Management on Thursday showed that manufacturing PMI dropped to 46.8 in July, the lowest figure recorded in 8 months. And the employment sub-index of the manufacturing PMI also fell to the lowest level since June 2020, right after the COVID-19 pandemic. The U.S. Central Bank's Federal Open Market Committee also kept interest rates steady during its latest rate decision meeting. In a press conference on Wednesday, U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said that if inflation continues to come into line with the central bank's 2% target, a rate cut could be possible in the Fed's next meeting in September.
And, I would say to Jay Powell, careful what you wish for, my friend. You are fighting for the 2% inflation. Well, to get to 2%, there's collateral damage. And collateral damage is a slowing of the economy. So market's starting to get a little nervous.
The benchmark S&P 500 fell nearly 1.4% from the previous day, the Nasdaq 2.3%, and the Dow Jones 1.2% on the first day of August. As for the domestic stock market, according to one expert, the downward trend may continue.
The market is expected to remain volatile for the time being, and in the long term, the economic slump in the U.S. is expected to exacerbate the downward pressure on the stock market.
He added that other factors such as the recent AI stock plunge may impact the domestic stock market negatively as well. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
The Seoul Bankruptcy Court approved on Friday TMON and WeMakePrice's request to enter an Autonomous Restructuring Support, or ARS, program. Under the ARS program, the court will appoint an external expert or firm approved by the companies and creditors to help them negotiate a debt restructuring plan without a former court receivership. The decision comes after the e-commerce platforms of Singapore-based Q10 filed for receivership and the ARS program on Monday. The court is giving them until September 2nd to come up with a plan and will delay the receivership process until then. The process can be delayed for up to 3 months, and if an agreement is reached within this period, the application for receivership can be withdrawn. A country's strategy to secure high income status needs to include investment, infusion, and innovation. That is according to the World Bank's latest guidebook, where it says South Korea is a classic example. I had a chance to talk to an expert there. Let's take a look. The World Bank has come up with a 21st century playbook for high-quality growth for the countries hitting what's called the middle-income trap. This refers to a situation in which a middle-income country experiences systematic growth slowdowns, unable to take on the new economic structures needed to sustain high income levels. Usually, countries hit the trap at about 10% of annual U.S. GDP per person, around $8,000. The issue is also closely related to the global economy.
It's these emerging middle-income countries that have high shares of the global GDP. Once they start growing, they can pull up the rest of the global economy. It's these middle-income countries right now are 60% of global emissions. How they grow will matter, because if they grow in the way that they're not energy efficient and they don't lower carbon intensity of growth, there will be a global crisis.
The problem is that many middle-income countries face bigger challenges than before. Rapidly aging populations, high debt, rising protectionism, and the need to consider reducing emissions. Thus, the World Bank proposes its 3I strategy. Low-income countries need to focus on investment first, expanding investment in physical capital, education, and infrastructure firms. Once lower middle-income status is obtained, they need to adopt technologies from abroad and spread them across the economy. Innovation comes last, developing industrial structures and technical competencies to add value to and advance the global technology frontier. The same expert says South Korea is a standout example, as the country successfully went through the phases within a period of 40 years. South Korea worked on reforms to encourage investment, especially in education, asked large conglomerates, including Samsung, to infuse cutting-edge technologies into the production process, and then focused on frontier innovation, changing the economic course at the right time. Just taking a look at South Korea's case could be helpful for middle-income countries, but more could be done.
Is to have many more partnerships between leading Korean firms and emerging market firms, is to create these licensing and technology sharing relationships with other middle-income countries. Because I think that's going to be a channel that will be an important conduit for knowledge transfer. But the foundations of Korean development was education. And how did Korea manage to have full primary, full secondary, technical education, and how did they maintain quality? I think lessons for that and tailoring those ideas and working with policy makers in emerging economies would be very useful.
On the international front, an extraordinary exchange of prisoners took place between the West and Russia, involving 24 detainees. Park Gun-woo has the details.
A historic prisoner exchange of 24 detainees between 7 Western countries, including the US and Russia, was made on Thursday. That's the largest since the post-Soviet era. 16 people who were held in Russian detention were released to the West in exchange for 8 Russians. 3 U.S. citizens, including Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich and former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, were released under the deal. The swap is a result of months of negotiations between several countries involved, including the U.S., Germany, and Russia. The release of convicted Russian assassin Vadim Krasikov, who was serving a life sentence in Germany, was one of Russia's main requests and key to making the deal happen. Russian President Vladimir Putin visited the airport to welcome the returning Russians, including Krasikov. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday thanked Washington's allies by calling it a feat of diplomacy.
The deal that made this possible was a feat of diplomacy and friendship. Multiple countries helped get this done. They joined the difficult, complex negotiations at my request, and I personally thank them all again.
He added that the U.S. will continue to make efforts to free all wrongfully detained Americans around the world. Also on Thursday, former U.S. President Donald Trump downplayed the deal, raising doubts that a massive amount of money would have been paid to Russia. But the White House said that no such money was sent and restrictions were lifted to conclude the exchange. Park Geon-woo, Arirang News.
Over in the National Assembly, following a day-long debate, the opposition-led parliament passed a controversial economic relief bill. It also approved a motion to impeach the new chair of the Korea Communications Commission. Our political correspondent Shin Ha-young has the details.
The National Assembly passed an opposition-led proposal that would provide cash vouchers worth 250,000 Korean won, or around $180 to people in Korea. The opposition-controlled parliament on Friday approved the bill with 186 votes in favor and 1 abstention amid a protest walkout by the ruling People Power Party. The vote followed a day-long debate initiated by the PPP on Thursday after the main opposition Democratic Party tabled the bill. The PPP argues that such relief will lead to more financial strain for the government and the next generation, while the opposition claims it will vitalize the economy. Meanwhile, the same day, the Assembly also passed a motion to impeach the new Korea Communications Commission Chair Lee Jin-soo. Opposition parties claim that there are significant problems with Lee's morality and qualifications, while the ruling party strongly opposes this claim, calling them groundless accusations, adding that Lee has not violated any law. As the motion passed, Lee was suspended from active duty immediately until the Constitutional Court makes a ruling. The presidential office condemned the passage as unconstitutional and illegal. Yoon spokesperson Jung Hae-jeon said that Lee chose to wait for the Constitutional Court's decision, unlike her predecessors, to end the vicious cycle of impeachments. Right after the vote, the DP tabled what's been dubbed the Yellow Envelope Bill, a revision to the Trade Union and Labor Relations Adjustment Act, prompting the PPP to launch another filibuster. The pro-labor bill aims to restrict companies from asserting claims for damages in valid union disputes.
The amendment includes waiving liability for damages caused while stopping an employer's illegal activities.
The amendment violates the Constitution, conflicts with civil law, and creates inconsistencies within the labor union law.
The bill was passed last year by the opposition-controlled Assembly but was vetoed by the president. It was then sent back to the Assembly for a revote where it was rejected. The filibuster will end automatically at midnight on Saturday with the conclusion of the July extraordinary session. As the DP plans to address the bill during the August extraordinary session, the fierce standoff between the rival parties is expected to continue throughout the month. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
President Yoon Suk-yeol will take a summer vacation next week, beginning Monday, an official told reporters on Friday, adding that this will be his official annual leave. The president is likely to visit military compounds to encourage soldiers and may also visit local markets as he did last year to help prop up the local economy. The rest of his schedule remains flexible and open to change, and the number of days he will take was not revealed. In other news, South Korean K-pop powerhouse SM Entertainment unveiled its first British K-pop boy band, Dear Alice. According to the agency, which is home to global K-pop acts such as aespa and Red Velvet, a press conference was held in London on Thursday local time to announce the name of the group as well as introduce the 5 members. The group, which was created with British entertainment company Moon & Beg Media, will feature in a 6-part BBC reality TV show, showcasing their K-pop training process to be aired sometime this month. The Korean wave is drawing more fans from all over the world, mostly driven by K-pops and K-dramas. Our Yoon explores how this wave has touched people's lives and inspired many to consider South Korea their dream destination.
Monica Mok, a 26-year-old social media influencer from Mexico, first discovered Korean culture in 2018 when she began listening to BTS.
It started with K-pop and then eventually started moving to Korean dramas, Korean culture, Korean skincare, Korean style, and all the different things that involve the Korean wave.
When she made friends and discovered communities that shared her passion for K-pop, she found a new focus for her social media content. She saw how the Korean wave has deeply influenced so many people, creating a vibrant connection between Latin America and South Korea, and she dreams of experiencing it up close. According to a Korea Foundation report, in 2023, Mexico, leading Korean Wave fan growth, had seen an 80% increase from the previous year, ranking second overall.
Doing dance covers, meeting new people that love what I do and what they also love doing, and we can share that, has been an amazing experience that also kind of gives me more things to do with my life and more to live for.
In July, Monica and her dance team won first place in their very first K-pop cover contest. In the coming years, she plans to compete in higher level contests where winners earn a trip to South Korea.
I know that this opportunity leads to other opportunities that might give us another type of job or another type of opportunities that we can go through, and eventually maybe even go to Korea, represent Mexico or represent our country through dancing or through doing what we love.
Homeira Rasoli's story began when a Korean friend she met in Afghanistan introduced her to Korean culture, an experience she now considers one of her greatest blessings. However, after the Taliban took over the government of Afghanistan 3 years ago, her family was forced to flee to Pakistan. Now, at 20 years old, she dreams of visiting Korea to pursue a career in journalism.
It was my biggest dream since my childhood to become a glorious journalist, and that was my biggest dream, and still it is. I will never give up. All of problems I have, I will never give up.
Homeira finds Korea's history deeply inspiring, especially its fight for freedom during Japanese colonial rule, as it resonates with the challenges in her own country.
I love about the culture, the language, the people, the history I've learned, and a lot of from Korean people because of their history. They are such a resilient people, and they are so strong. They never accept the failure, and they were my source of motivation and my hard times.
This has fueled her hopes of similar strength in her home country, especially for Afghan women who are excluded from society and denied basic rights, such as going to school, the park, or restaurants.
No matter where I am, which country I am, I will raise the voice of women. I will tell the facts about Afghanistan, about the situation of Afghanistan, about the security situation. I will tell to the world, all of people around the world, I will tell.
The situation in Pakistan is no better, with immigrants facing barriers when it comes to employment and education. Despite these struggles, Homeira is focusing on her own studies and hopes to learn Korean in a more formal setting. During these difficult days, K-pop has been a major source of strength for her, with songs like D-Day by Suga and Still With You by Jungkook providing support and encouragement.
They always say in their lyrics that never give up, you're the best, what gender you are, with country you're the best, and those are words that come in my mind. It's not just my dream, but it's just my target in these years. I want to come, if I can, I want to apply for universities, especially for Yonsei University.
Their journeys are far from complete. Monica envisions a new cultural wave emerging from the blend of Korean and Latin influences. Homeira aspires to one day advocate for women in Afghanistan through her work as a journalist. Though their journeys may differ, they all see South Korea as their dream destination and hope it will bring a new chapter filled with opportunities and exciting experiences. Yoon, Arirang News.
Tropical nights are getting worse as the scorching heat continues into the evening. Rain and showers during the day have raised the humidity levels, and the feels like temperatures have soared. This heat day and night is expected to continue for 10 days more. With a heatwave warning in place in most parts of the country, Seoul will be as hot as 33 degrees Celsius tomorrow. Heat waves and tropical nights will continue this weekend. In addition, showers will pass tomorrow around the southern areas around the eastern parts on Sunday. A severe heatwave warning level, the highest possible, is in place nationwide. It will be hot tomorrow morning all over the country. Highs will move up to 35 in Gwangju, Daegu 36, Gyeongju 37 degrees. These hot and humid conditions will continue for a while. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That's all we have for today. Thank you for watching. Arirang News will be back on Monday, 9 a.m. Korea time. Enjoy your weekend. Goodbye.